So we all know that these new slick electric cars are fast, quiet, and good for the environment. Wrong. Alright, now before we get into this, make sure you subscribe so you can keep up with all this automotive news content. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so yeah, hit that subscribe button. So in my close group of friends, I've been saying recently that I think this mass banning of gas cars is probably not a great idea. It's happening in Washington, Oregon, and California. There's a few other ones out there, but those are the ones I know right now, and I feel like it's a bad idea, and I'll explain why. Now, my reasoning behind this is the most common cars already are economy cars, like the Toyota Corolla. I don't know if it still is, but for a long time, it's been the best-selling car on the market. It is known for its reliability and its great gas mileage. So these common cars are going to be replaced by EVs anyway because they're the most efficient. They're the best bang for the buck. They're reliable mostly. And yeah, I don't really see the whole banning part as, even if you want to get into the luxury range, the Porsche Taycan, the new electric one, is freaking sweet. Why do we need to ban gas cars to make those still exist? It doesn't really make sense to me. Having a few performance gas cars around, is that really going to harm much? Just a couple Hellcats here and there. It's not like you see a Dodge Challenger on every street corner. And by the time EVs get good enough, they'll be obsolete anyway. Like, if you can get an EV that's just as fun as the new McLaren P1, are you really going to be going out to buy a McLaren P1 if you can get the electric version? They didn't have to ban the horse and buggy, just saying. Amish are still out there pushing those things hard. Well, you might be saying, well, the Amish are the only ones really using horses for transportation. Well, that is pretty much true. There are a lot of people that still enjoy riding horses all the time. The rodeo world is huge, the equestrian world is huge, and we didn't have to ban horses. I know it's a little bit different, but you'll see where I'm going. And I think in the future, if we want to be able to go to the drag strip with our big V8s, why is that such a problem? Why can't we just have, it's a small hobby between groups of people like horseback riding, rodeo is. It's not really much different. Basically what I'm saying is not everybody owns a horse. Some people do and they enjoy it. So why can't some of us go buy a new gas vehicle if we enjoy it? But like the horse and gas car comparison doesn't really make sense when we're talking about EVs, because the reason the world is switching to EVs, electric vehicles, is for the environment. We're trying to save the climate, right? But the real truth is that electric cars aren't what everybody says they are. It sounds like, perfect. You just plug the car in, electricity, that doesn't come out your exhaust pipe. So there are some real factors that we have to consider when it comes to the production of electric cars. Now, almost all electric cars nowadays have lithium batteries. And I'm sure you've already heard that lithium batteries, to produce them, it is not great for the environment. It is actually pretty detrimental to produce one single battery. For example, the Model 3 Tesla, the battery weighs about 1,000 pounds by itself, which is kind of insane. I didn't even realize it was that much until I started researching this. And just for a little bit of a moral dilemma for you, 5% of that is cobalt, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 50 pounds. And if you've seen the videos of the children in the Congo digging up cobalt by hand, 50 pounds is a lot. I mean, go move 50 pounds of dirt. Just 50 pounds of dirt it can be a strenuous activity for some. And we're talking about just getting the cobalt out of the ground. It's kind of a big deal. But if you don't care about the children, we'll get into the environmental costs of these batteries. In the cells of each battery, they contain nickel, manganese, cobalt, and lithium. To mine these, process them in the factory, and to convert them all to the powder that is created to use the cells, they produce 2.25 tons of carbon just to produce one of these batteries. Just to produce the cells for the one battery puts off 0.5 ton of CO2 emissions on their own. And this is because we're talking about ships coming overseas. The processes to refine all these materials and then assemble them in the factory, a lot of these places are still running on coal power. So we're not really saving that much. And then in 10 years, you've had your Tesla. Then your batteries go bad. And then you have to redo this whole process over again and put out the same amount of emissions. Just to compare, you would have to drive a brand new Toyota Corolla, which is known to be a fuel efficient car, 10,000 miles just to offset the production cost of one Tesla Model 3 battery. And then you're thinking, oh, well then after those 10,000 miles, you're just producing more emissions. Well, that is true. Then you have to plug your Tesla into the wall or at your charging station, wherever it is. And most likely it's being powered by coal or natural gas. It's not that Teslas or anything are worse for the environment. It's just that they're not great. They're not perfect. So we really just need more people to know that, because they think, oh, I go plug in my Tesla, I'm saving trees all over the world. Well, if you live in Washington, where a majority of our power is hydropower, which is actually a very, very clean source of power that for some reason people don't want to accept, that is a big difference. If you're living in Kentucky or wherever, you're probably running on coal, and although coal has actually become pretty efficient and pretty clean, of course, it's not the same. Even in California, 39% of their power is natural gas, while the rest comes from other renewable sources, and they do buy power from out of state. That sounds weird, but yes, states buy power from other states. It's kind of a odd trading world. Now, natural gas has actually become a lot cleaner. I will provide some sources on that. It's actually gotten pretty impressive what they've been able to do with natural gas to make it burn way cleaner, and the cleaner you burn it, the more efficient you are. So it's actually way better all around than it used to be. Now, I believe it was about 10% of Californians' power does come from out of state. So if every single citizen is buying power for their Tesla, are they going to be able to sustain that? Or are they going to have to make more and more power and maybe have to go back to not so clean options? Just because you plugged your car in and nothing comes out the exhaust pipe, it doesn't mean it's perfectly clean. We just need to understand that when you plug it in, if they're burning coal 20 miles down the road, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And there are other options that we should talk about other than EVs and other than already highly efficient cars like hybrids. For example, Toyota with their new Mirai, I don't know, some cool car they're coming up with. They're going all in on hydrogen. Now, hydrogen is nowhere near as available as plugging in your Tesla at your local grocery store, but it does burn very clean. So hydrogen combines with oxygen, and then there is an electrolyte that actually outputs electricity. So you're basically an electric car, but it's running on hydrogen, and I believe its only waste product is water. So it's a relatively clean source. It isn't the cheapest right now, but Toyota is actually providing these hydrogen cells for their customers for the first 3 years if you rent them or lease them, and 6 years if you go buy one. And because you're not having to rely on this 1,000-pound battery, you have a little bit more options as far as range. The new Mirai has a 400 plus mile range on it, which is pretty impressive as far as EVs and eco-friendly cars go. But like I said before, there's actually only 44 hydrogen stations in the country, so they're few and far between. I really hope hydrogen does become a more common eco-friendly car, because they do seem kind of cool. The only reason I bring up hydrogen cars, and like I said, the hybrids before, is I just don't really understand the whole push from the culture and the government to just force out these gas cars. Like, why do we need to go to the extreme to just completely wipe out these cars? I understand we're saving the environment, but like I said before, the most common car on the road already is a car that is efficient. So why don't we just keep going down the track we're on, and the electric cars are going to take over anyway? What's the point in banning them? Now, are they going to go back and ban my Prelude or Mason's Impala because we're putting off too many emissions by driving it maybe 30 miles a week or 50 miles a week because it's just a car we enjoy to drive. Now, I know the slippery slope argument is not a great one. I'm just kind of putting it out there because that's the way they like to push these things, just a little bit at a time so you accept it. Now, I'm hoping in the next couple of years maybe we can slow down the panic and it won't be ban everything gas cars, and we can maybe reevaluate where we are on hydrogen vehicles, hybrids, and electric cars. So honestly, I could talk about this topic for hours and hours. So if you want me to do a bigger, deeper dive on this, that sounded dirty, just let me know in the comments and we'll make another video on this because I've seen some silly things in the past couple weeks. Like if you saw the electric Moab Jeeps that just came out, they look so stupid. Anyways, like I said, I could talk about this forever, so we're going to end it here. Like the video if you liked it. I really would like to talk about this topic more, but I don't want to bore you guys to death. And yeah, subscribe to keep up to date on anything that drives.